And he said, well, off the record, the thing is with council tenants is we find that on estates there's a lot of problems with obesity and unemployment and drugs and worse. So I said, oh, right. And I'm thinking, here is this man who's being paid a huge amount of money to be the representative spokesperson for people who are paying their council tax, and he's effectively just cussing on the phone to a national newspaper journalist. So I said, hang on, what do you mean by that? You find this problem on council estates? Is it something to do with the architecture? Is that why? And he went, no. And I said, is it the breeze blocks? Is that the problem? And he went, no. And he was getting quite tetchy with me. Anyway, we continued. We had a very nice argument. I was on deadline. I had to hang up on him, file the column, and then afterwards I did what any self-respecting journalist, having been given an off-the-record briefing, would do, which is ring up the council tenants and tell them what the press officer had been saying about them. But look, here's the thing that strikes me about that story and about what Jasmin just told you about what she found when she talked to Robin Wales. If you can't afford to live in Newham, then you can't live in Newham. This is a story really about an establishment that has decided that certain people matter and they should be looked after, and other people don't matter. And you saw it played out in Grenfell, you know, in a really grotesque, horrible context where residents were writing detailed reports to the tenancy management organisation warning that their homes were a death trap, and effectively nothing was done about it. And then the council watched their own residents burn alive and mounted a response so pitiful that the leader and deputy leader then had to quit as a result.
I would say the main message from Focus E15 is that we need to network together, we need to organise, take each other's contacts, stand up and fight. The campaign has had a very active campaign against Newham's Labour Mayor, Robin Wales. He is on a salary of £80,000 a year, claiming £100,000 a year in expenses. And when the campaign first went to see the mayor, we was told if you can't afford to live in Newham, you can't afford to live in Newham. So it was clear from the beginning that that was a person that we need to go to, and that was a person we need to put a lot of pressure on and demand that we see answers. So we've been along to as many meetings and surgeries as possible that the mayor has, and we often find we're shut out of those meetings or told that we can't go in, but we always make sure our voices are heard, and we'll stand outside and we'll chant, and we'll make sure they know that we're there and just expose everything we can.
But yeah, we received letters through just after this fire saying our cladding has been sent off for testing. Our cladding is exactly the same as the one on the Grenfell Tower, but they're not going to remove it. It's going to stay there, and we've been given 24-hour security. On the 13th floor, we've got a lady, she's 76, but she's deaf. She's lost full eyesight in one ear. She can barely walk. So I spoke to Hannah. Normal, healthy people, like, you can run downstairs, but my son's 2. Every night before I go to bed, I fill my bath up with water, I put a blanket next to my bath. So if I have to run, I can wrap my child. But why do you have to put your kid to bed every night with the thought of tonight you could burn? Yeah, like, we've got mothers here, all got young children. It's not a way that we should have to live. Like, my son watches the news, he's very clever. Like, he says to me, he's like, well, I live in a block, Mum. Am I going to be safe? Really? No, you're not.
You talked about feeling undervalued, you talked about feeling stigmatised, you've talked about feeling powerless, you talked about feeling insecure. All of those things have a huge impact on how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world. All of those things will have a direct impact on your motivation to get up in the morning, to keep going. I'm constantly blown away by Focus E15's resilience and motivation to keep going. You've inspired so many mental health professionals along the way, because we see it in our work we feel often hopeless when people come in and we know that the issue is not that they are severely depressed because there's something wrong with their brain. They're severely depressed because their housing is insecure, their housing is in terrible, damp conditions.
I now run the group by myself, but I am so lucky that I've got like 40 to 50 volunteers that give their time to East London's homeless. They might go to a housing appointment with them, they might feed them, they might put them in this direction, because when I went to the council, I went as undercover and made out I was homeless, and there was no help offered to me. I knocked on somebody's door and asked for a sandwich, there was no help offered to me. And then I started researching and I put a handout pack together. That's on the streets now, and the council actually asked me, could they have my handout pack? And I said no. Right. So this was a year ago. There is nothing else opened since I started this nearly 2 years ago. There's no extra places, there's nowhere to go. Newham home, in a shelter bed, 15 beds, okay, in the whole of our borough. 15, 1-5. There are over 200 homeless. I can tell you where they are. I know where they are, yeah? Over 200 in this area, and there's 15 beds available.
So let me give you, if I may, just a brief outline of what the authorities did at Hillsborough. Well, first of all, did they sympathise? No. Did they show any empathy? No. Did they show any concern or a determination to unearth the truth? Of course not. How stupid of me to think they would. Did they expect the families to get instant justice? No, not at all. What did the South Yorkshire Police do? The first thing they did was go on the offensive. They started attacking the Liverpool fans. And the ones who had died and were laying in a makeshift mortuary in a gym under the main stand, they started taking blood samples. And they were trying to show that the Liverpool fans were in fact drunk and that they had caused their own demise. And now I'm looking around and I'm seeing people shaking their heads, and that fills me with joy, because what a disgusting thing to do. You've got dead bodies lying there, crushed to death by the ineptitude of a police officer, high-ranking David Duckenfield, you probably read about him, and what's happened is they say, oh, well, let's blame these. We won't accept responsibility, we're the police, okay? So we are going to blame the fans, that they were drunk, that they arrived late, that they didn't have any tickets, and they broke down the gates to force entry. This was the myth, the propaganda that was put out.
It come to the point where I didn't even know what to do. That's when I contacted Hannah, and they make you feel absolutely worthless. They make you feel like because you're income support and you're a mother with a child, a single mum, you're not entitled to anything, and they talk down to you. I went to the council with Hannah one time, and the woman just, like, there was no remorse. Like, when you're talking to them, like, we were saying, don't you think it's absolutely outrageous that mums are put in this situation? And she was like, well, it was just like, almost like, it doesn't really matter.
I think it's really important that we don't park the blame at one political party's door, not just the Tories. We park the blame at the British establishment, the British class, and all the political parties that continue to sit in Parliament while people are in precarious situations, while people's living conditions have never been this bad. I wanted to make a point that Aditya made about an hour ago now, when he continually said that there's a culture now where some people matter and some people don't. And again, from what we've heard, and I think actually we have to really appreciate what it meant for a lot of people to be speaking up here tonight. It meant so much, and it's amazing that you've done it. But really, that's not because we've suddenly gone into a culture where suddenly human beings don't care about each other anymore, or they've suddenly gone evil. Why are people acting this way? Why are they acting so bad? we have to look at the situation that we're in at the moment. Now, we know there was a financial crash in 2008, and we know that we've been living under austerity for a long time. We know that on TV, politicians always say there's no magic money tree, there's no money, and it's people that sit here and have no adequate housing that say, oh, but we understand there's no money, we understand there's no money, and I need to reiterate the point again. As Aditya pointed out, we just gave the DUP £1 billion to buy votes. Not only that, we have to remember what the bank bailout meant. It's important. I'm just going to read this quickly because it's so important. Last December, the National Audit Office published a second report on the costs of the bank bailout. That was a bailout that the government gave to the banks of public tax money, of money they could be spending on housing. The scale of the support currently provided to UK banks has fallen from its peak of 955 billion to 512 billion, but the amount of cash currently borrowed by the government to support banks has risen by 7 billion. Now, this is ludicrous, it's absurd, it's so removed from the reality of what we're talking about now, and it's chaotic. So I have to put across my point of view to the room that people aren't inherently evil, but we're living under a system where people don't matter and profits do, and it boils down to money, and that's when you've seen this complete inhumane behaviour, and this is what all the people in this room and what the people have been speaking about today are trying to battle and challenge. And so I think it's really important that we understand that this is not just an immediate moral battle that we're going on, that we get people off the streets, which is so important, that we remove cladding from housing, that we make sure that every single mother has a decent place for their child to be brought up, has a garden. But actually this is a battle of ideas, because guess what, we're coming into another financial crash, and we need to be the ones that say, when people say, oh, there's not enough money to give you housing, or to put you in an adequate safe space, that we say there is. And I think we really need to talk about that. So not only should we be talking about short-term aims of what we need to do to open up housing, remove cladding, but we should also be getting in rooms and discussing long-term ideas. We have to remember that where we're sitting was where Sylvia Pankhurst was 100 years ago, talking about the same things we are now.
What I find so amazing about Focus E15, and why I was so glad to be here this evening, is the fact that they decide, no, we do matter. And that's what you're doing every time you take part in a housing protest, every time you campaign against austerity, every time you say to the state, actually your choices on who matters and who doesn't matter are wrong. We do matter. Thank you.